unexpected expense is something that you didn't include in your budget. It's something that you weren't necessarily prepared for financially. So an unexpected expense could be a girlfriend calling last minute and saying, hey, I'm in town, I would love to meet you for dinner. An unexpected expense would be you get a flat tire on the way to work. It might be something like maybe your baby gets sick and all of a sudden you have some new doctor appointment bills or medicine bills. It might be, you end up getting bed bugs and you need to replace your mattress, or maybe you have children and one of your child's schoolmates calls and says, hey, I have a birthday coming up, in a couple of days, would you love to come? So all of a sudden you are now in charge of bringing a present. And so those are really unexpected expenses. Now, unexpected expenses, are they also emergency expenses? So, and how do you and what money do you use to cover unexpected expenses? There's a really big difference, and we're going to be talking about that. So when I started my financial journey, I think in the beginning, I did it out of fear. The fear of not being prepared and then having to rely on credit cards again and debt again. So I'm the type of person that likes to have a backup plan to my backup plan. I utilize 3 different things in my life to take care of unexpected expenses. I have a miscellaneous envelope included in my budget. It's part of my variable spending. It's a spending cash envelope, and I allocate $100 a month from my paycheck to go into my miscellaneous envelope. Now that envelope covers small things that pop up in my pay period that I wasn't expecting. So maybe it's the dinner with friends. Maybe it's needing to pick up a gift that I wasn't expecting. Maybe it's for some extra gas to go visit my mom and I wasn't expecting to do that trip. So it's the small things in between my pay period that miscellaneous envelope covers. The second thing that I've implemented into my budget is a checking account cushion. My checking account cushion is something I've implemented into my budget because I'm an all-cash spender and I use a zero-based budget. So a zero-based budget is essentially just spending every dollar of your income. So every dollar of your income has a plan to be spent somewhere in your budget. And I realized in the beginning how uncomfortable it made me to bring my checking account balance so low every single pay period. So I implemented a checking account cushion, or some people call it a buffer. So my checking account cushion I use for unplanned bills. So maybe a bill comes out that I wasn't planning for my budget. Bills that are higher than expected. So these are bills in your budget that fluctuate every single month. They go up and down. A utility bill is a great example of this because what you pay for your utility bill is based on how much energy you used or consumed in your home, how much laundry were you doing, how many lights were you using. And then I've also implemented a emergency savings, and that is used for true emergencies. So maybe it's like my water heater breaking, or I need a new roof all of a sudden, or I need to replace the tires on my car because of something that happened, or maybe I have an accident and need to take care of some really quick medical bills. So as you can see, the 3 things that I've implemented into my budget and into my life for unexpected expenses kinda are really used for very specific things. So miscellaneous is used for unexpected expenses that pop up during my pay period, small things. My checking account cushion is used for unexpected bills or higher than normal bills, and that's also gonna save you a lot from overdraft fees if you're dealing with overdraft fees. And then my emergency savings is used for strictly emergency expenses. So I think a lot of the time what happens with unexpected expenses is they're not planned for. And a lot of the time what we do, people assume that budgeting means just paying the bills, and that's really not the case. Having a budget calendar and making sure that not just your bills are on that calendar, but upcoming holidays and events, dinner with friends, doctor or dentist appointments that might have a small copay when you go through the door and leave your appointment. I think what happens is they derail our budget because of the frustration that they cause, not necessarily because we don't have the money to pay for them inside our actual budget paycheck. Now, I'm a paycheck budgeter, which means I budget my money every single time I'm paid. So I don't necessarily think it's derailing our budget for the pure fact that we don't have the money to pay for it. I think a lot of the time it derails our budget because what happens to our mindset? We get frustrated and then think all of a sudden our budget isn't working. And it's not necessarily that your budget that you've established isn't working. It just means that we need to be a little more prepared for the things that do pop up in our real lives. Oh yes, I had many unexpected expenses during my debt payoff journey. A couple of them were for my son. I remember I just got done paying off my Mazda Protege, and I had a nail that went through the wall of my tire, and the actual tire couldn't be repaired. It had to actually be replaced. And then all of a sudden that turned into needing to replace all my tires. And I remember that really set me back in the very beginning, not necessarily because of the amount of money, but because all of a sudden I felt really defeated. So it was more of a mindset thing. I had a lot, like little small things that popped up, but the more and more things popped up, I felt like the more and more I was prepared because I learned from the last time something popped up in my life, and it was really implementing small changes into my budget, like the miscellaneous envelope and the checking account cushion. So yeah, I definitely had some, I think most of them, now that I think about it, had to do with my car. Because back then I was driving a really older car that, was slowly just breaking down on me. So a lot of it had to do with that. When unexpected expenses, that really set me back on my debt payoff journey was getting a divorce. That was a huge thing for me because not only did I have to find a new place for me and my son to live, and I basically relied on credit cards to do that. In that process of swiping that credit card, a lot of my old spending habits trickled back to the surface. So yeah, I think my divorce was probably my biggest unexpected event and unexpected expense that led to unexpected expenses in my life. So to prepare your budget for unexpected expenses, first I would make sure that you're covered and prepared for everyday life. And it's really stepping back and realizing that budgeting is not just paying the bills. And I really suggest and recommend implementing a budget calendar into your life. So you're listing out everything. So anything that you plan on spending money on during that pay period should be included in your budget. The next thing that I recommend is always establish an emergency fund. Now, if you are familiar with my freedom steps, you know that your emergency fund savings amount should be something that you're personally comfortable with. It's not necessarily $1,000. It's not necessarily 3 to 6 months of expenses. It's something that allows you to fall asleep at night feeling at peace with and secure with what you have done with your money and what you have saved and set aside. So I would also recommend implementing a miscellaneous envelope into your budget if you are an all cash spender. It has saved me so many times. I cannot even tell you, and it saved my budget so many times. So I would definitely recommend implementing those 3 things into your budget. Yeah, so defeat and discouragement is a huge thing that happens to us when something does pop up and we're not prepared, because all of a sudden we feel like we're not doing something right with our budget. We feel like our budget is failing us. But here's the thing, stuff happens. This is life. And the number one thing that you should do is continue on your journey of financial management and budgeting. Don't give up at that point, because take it as a learning experience and then make your budget better and more prepared in the future. I think it's just really important to embrace that stuff comes up, and sometimes we're not always going to be prepared, and that's okay. we do the best we can, and we prepare ourselves in the future the best we can. And I think the more and more things pop up, you'll start to realize, like, okay, I need to have something set aside because this is happening a lot to me. I'm constantly, especially if you have children, you'll realize really quickly the things that come up, like unexpected birthday presents or unexpected field trips or just different things that happen. So I think the really big thing is not giving up on your budget. Realize that you're not doing necessarily something wrong with your budget. It's not that your budget isn't working. It's just about maybe tweaking it and perfecting it to be a little more prepared for things that pop up in life.